Welcome back to another episode of the Ark Survival Guide. So this is going to be an episode where we mostly make preparations for another expedition to go tame a beaver. That's the next thing that I really need, or an ankylosaur, whichever is the first that we find. But before we do that, we've got to do a few things to get the base ready so we can leave it for a while, because we probably will be gone for a while. So, I won't feel bad if you skip this one, but we'll just dive right in. So right now, I am building a platform so that we can park the raft directly underneath my base and just climb right up from the deck. So it's easiest to snap a ladder off the edge and build down like that. And I'm going to build this thing straight down until it's in line with the deck. And now I can actually climb right up the ladder straight from my raft. And this level is pretty shallow in the water level over here, so we should be pretty safe from whales. But once again, I've never seen a whale in this bay. Maybe the scorpions keep the whales away. So I'm gonna drop my trike on top of the roof because that's one nice convenient thing about having this plateau base here is I can just take dinosaurs right onto the roof that way. It's like a built-in ramp all the way up to the top. And I'm stuck in my pteranodon right now, so I'm going to have to move that a little bit so I can move again. Still picking up all the animal feces that I find. Now, the main reason I am doing a lot of preparations during this episode and not just going straight out is because right now that plant species X is still developing, and once it matures, it's just going to start killing everything in range. And if we have a tame inside the pen, it'll just kill the tame that we're trying to tame, whether we want it to or not. So I need those plant species X to be mature before I set out, because then I can actually put them to sleep and tell them to stop killing stuff. So I'm going to scout ahead a little bit real quick. You might notice this is on double speed, just to make this not a crazy long episode. And I'm seeing a pack of allosaurs and a whole bunch of argents. And yeah, we got a lot of dangerous stuff. We got some raptors and saber-tooths and just tons of predators out in this valley. So I'm going to stay away from that mountainside. It's much safer on the other section. But what I'm really looking for, I figured I'd scout ahead a little bit, just see if I saw an ankylosaur in that area. Oh, there we go. So what I'm looking for right now is some metal, because we smelted all of our metal. We've actually got quite a bit, but I'm going to build some feeding troughs so that we can leave our dinosaurs for a while, and it makes it much easier to leave your dinosaurs when you have a good feeding trough in place. But one thing, whenever you get off your pteranodon, make sure you can get back onto it safely, because like I was just a minute ago having to hop from rock to rock, I barely was able to get back on him. So you don't want a predator to ambush you when you're away from your pteranodon. That's a good way to die. So I got some chunks of metal, which we need for the feeding trough, and it actually needs to be unsmelted metal. So that's going to help out a lot. And I'm skipping ahead a little bit. I now actually have these feeding troughs ready, and so I went ahead and crafted two of them, one for my floating fortress and one for my home plateau base. And I am dehydrated, so I'm going to grab a drink real quick. I usually have a little bit, keep picking up stuff instead of water. Usually have a bit in my flask, but I ran out, so here we go. So, oh, there's some more stuff to pick up for fertilizer. We're going to need a lot of that. So let's see if we can get this as far back in the base as possible where it's not going to be in the way. Now what a feeding trough does is you can put food in it and it creates it actually like reduces the amount of spoil time, so things don't spoil as quickly. Another reason I brought my trike down here is he is full of berries that he's been harvesting. And if I fill up that feeding trough with all of these berries, then all of my herbivores can eat the berries in the trough. I don't have to make sure that every single dinosaur has some berries on it. Now, you also want to be careful, because before you go out on an expedition, you got to make sure that that dinosaur has some food on it before you go out, because it will not be able to eat from the feeding trough without a certain radius from that trough. And I'm also going to put down a compost bin on my raft, because I've got one on the plateau base, but I really want to have this go with me all the time. Because once you get far enough away from something, it stops, it kind of like freezes it in time, and it stops producing fertilizer. But as long as that's on our raft, it will just keep making it as long as we're going. So we're going to also grab a bunch of narco berries with our Triceratops. We are going in super speed now because it's kind of a slow process, but I'm getting hundreds of narco berries. We're going to need to make a ton of narcotics because these higher level dinosaurs we're taming take a lot of narcotics to keep them unconscious. And we almost ran out when we were taming our level 15 Doedicurus. I don't even know what we're going to run into, but if the beavers that I want to find are way up in the mountain, and it'll be incredibly hard to get one down to the beach to tame, and the areas that they live are really dangerous. So if I can get one down, I want to have plenty of narcotics to be able to keep it unconscious. And it would be terrible if I got one all the way down and then it woke up and we couldn't tame it. So, gonna need a lot of narcotics, a lot of narco berries, and all that stuff. I'm also stocking up so that I've got enough berries to keep all my dinosaurs from starving while I'm gone, because I anticipate being gone for quite a while on this expedition. So I'm going to reorganize everything and head back up to my plateau base. And now that we've got a lot of the supplies that we need, and we have our convenient little stairway leading up the base, which makes it easier. But I want to get all of my dinosaurs safely up on that plateau. I actually want to get my Doedicurus and Triceratops both up there. And I'm going to make sure that no sea scorpions are around, because there's always sea scorpions, except right now. So I'm going to unload this Doedicurus because we may end up needing this stone. Once again, if you want to make it really fast, you can just chuck the stone through the door into that storage bin, and then you pick up all the boxes while you're standing next to it. That way you don't have to run back and forth a million times. So I'm going to set him up here, grab all of this fertilizer material so I can actually have that on my base creating fertilizer while I'm gone. And I'm going to get all my dinosaurs up here except the Pteranodon, and I also want to bring my Scorpion. So I've finally gotten to a level where I can make a Scorpion saddle. So I'm going to get that going in a second, but first I'm going to put together a feeding trough so that I can get a ton of berries for all of my dinosaurs. So once again, rather than splitting up the berries from dinosaur to dinosaur, if I do it like this, I've got a bunch of meat and a bunch of berries in here, and that's going to make it so my dinosaurs can basically share the food, and they'll each eat out of the feeding trough. But if you look closely on a lot of my dinosaurs now, they've got a tiny little icon that's in the shape of a feeding trough above their head, and that means they're in range of the feeding trough, and they can actually eat out of that. So they'll never run out of food. So I am making sure there are 6 pieces of droppings and then 50 thatch for every 3, so 100 thatch in there. And that's going to make it so that it's going to just keep producing fertilizer. Another thing I want to do is I want to make it so I don't actually have to go outside my base to get up onto the roof. It's a little dangerous. Every time I have to open that door, I could have a sea scorpion waiting for me, so I'm making a stone hatch frame with a ladder going down into it. And by placing it on the inside of that square, we've got a little hatch door that we can use to get up onto the roof. So there we go. And I'm also going to build a ramp for my dinos out the side here. And so that ladder is no longer going to be useful once we cover it up. So I'm building these out so that I can have these stone ceilings sticking all the way to the back, and then a ramp going all the way down. I was originally thinking that wouldn't be safe because dinosaurs could technically walk up that ramp and get at my dinosaurs in the top of it. But I realized that predators pretty much always come at you at a straight line, so if one were to come up this ramp and then head towards my dinos on the roof, it would fall off the ramp instead of going straight up and then straight over. This ladder is going to be totally useless now because it's covered up with a ceiling, so I'm just going to demolish that and use it for the materials. So now we have a nice base that we can use to get our dinos up on top, and our plant species X is just about finished maturing. And as soon as that is mature completely, then I can actually set it up and set it to not attack things. And at that point, we will be safe to go off on our taming expedition. So, thanks for watching. Tune in next time, and we're actually going to get that scorpion saddle going. And I think by then our Plant Species X will be ready. So, we'll see you next episode.